In the testicle breathing exercise, you use your mind to draw the yin, youthful sperm energy up the spine to your head. Oh, sorry, my G's. I didn't realise we were recording then. So, how are you guys doing? Hope you're doing well. Oh, sorry, my phone's ringing. Hello, Nan? Yeah, nah, Nan. Nah. See you later, Nan. Yeah, I hope you guys have got your plums and you've subscribed to the channel. If you've watched my video and you haven't subscribed, then I just don't understand you. You're one of those people, you know, just you say one thing, you do another, you get plums, you grip them tight, you throw them on your bed, and if that doesn't make you subscribe, then I don't know what will. Anyway, today I've got just a singular vital bass that I've made, which is a little bit more complex, so I want to give it a bit of a case study. So we're going to run through this, give you a little tutorial, hopefully help you get some more cool inspiration for your own sound design. And failing that, you can also grab this preset on my €1 tier, which I've renamed Private Joker. So yeah, come and become a Private Joker on Patreon, and you can also get the preset pack I launched on Sunday, which is the Neurofunk Netherworld, which has got 10 amazing vital presets, all just for €1, which is mental. How is it that cheap? I just don't know, but it's good. Anyway, appreciate the support. Let's get into today's vital tutorial. So I've named this bass the Desert People. I don't know why. I think I was just thinking about Dune again, the Sand People. I don't know what, you know, the way they move across the sand. It's very interesting. Anyway, without further ado, let's give you a little preview of the bass, which I've just peppered up with some drums as well. So that's how it sounds coming straight out of Vital. And obviously, when I go to resample it and process it again, think of the possibilities. They're endless, but it's a great sound to begin with. It's got everything you need to start off with. If you notice, I had a couple of other sounds in here as well. I just had this this kind of tension layer that I use a lot in my own compositions, things like that, to give a little bit of extra atmosphere and excitement to the high end and the background of the song. So very important. But we'll mute that for now. And we'll just go into to building this bass up together. So I kind of used one technique from one of the presets I did in the last little Patreon mini €1 pack, the Netherworld, and there was a patch in there. I think it was the Fabricado, maybe, or the Productor Lead, or the Fabricado. It was one Avocado. It was one where there was a little pitch kind of thing that happened where basically one of the oscillators turns up as the other one turns down, and the pitches on them are slightly different, so you get a nice kind of little melodic trickle happening. So I thought I'd take that principle and apply it to making a new preset. And again, this time I just used saw waves, so you could maybe do something with some other wavetables that might be even better. But I like to keep things simple sometimes with the wavetables, because if you get them, if you do your filtering right and you do your effects right, and you've got a good concept for the overall synth sound that you're going for, then the basic wavetables can often be the most useful and most powerful ones, in my opinion. That's why white noise, you know, in the high end, it's like the best thing up there. Sine wave in the low end is the best thing you can have down there. Saw waves, really great to cover the whole mid-range and also provide some nice melody as well. So I decided to use the basics here, and if we'll take a look then from scratch. So we start off with a saw wave at -12. Okay, and so what I'm doing is I'm doing an LFO on the level of it, and we're going to do the second saw wave going the other way. So first off, this one starts at 0, and we got our LFO 1, which is doing a saw down. But what you'll notice is I've done a little fade up, so it's not like a super clicky, because when it gets to the end of the cycle, if it's like a straight up thing, it's going to like kind of click sometimes. So that's why sometimes I'll draw a little fade in at the beginning of the LFO. Okay, and then the detuning, it's like slightly. Oh, got a very itchy ear. Sorry about that. Slightly detuned at plus 14 on this on the fine tuning, and we're going to do the second one down here at minus 16. And yeah, you just tweak these a little bit while you listen to the sound, and you'll notice the tone kind of changes a little bit, and it just makes it a little bit more natural. Also bending the waves a little bit each way. So the first one's going a bit to the right, the second one's going a bit to the left. So they're also slightly separated. Anyway, this second oscillator. So like I said before, it's going to do the same LFO movement but the other way. So this one starts up at 100 and we go down all the way to 0. And this one's at minus 5. So if you're thinking about what that is in a chord, then, you know, Google it. I don't know. So I'm not a music I'm not a music theory tutor. You know, I make sounds in E or F and I just stay there. So just leave me there to die, okay? Anyway, this is the effect that you get when you combine them, though. You have the one, which is the root note, the minus 12, going up as this kind of extra harmonic is going down. And you could do it at different notes, obviously. 3 is quite cool, but I like the one at minus 5 here, especially when I start to distort it. It sounds pretty cool. So, yeah, so we got this movement going on. And now we're going to just reinforce the whole kind of mid-range that we've made by slamming in a sine wave underneath and putting some white noise on top. So sine wave underneath, minus 24. This is just going to be consistent, holding, so there's no modulation here in the actual level. And then we got a bit of white noise, and I've put a really fast modulation on the white noise here. So the sample level, as you can see on our LFO2. It's got a bit of a flutter effect, but it's very low in volume because I just want a little bit in the high end, so it's just a little bit more natural. I'm not trying to make, you know, a distorted TV signal sound or something like that, or radio interference, you know. It's just to combine into the high end, so it's not so sharp with the saw wave. That's the idea. So next, then we got some filterage. Yeah, that's a real word. Look it up. Filterage, filtration system. Me and Yanan, you know, we've been doing a lot of filtering recently over at Patreon, so make sure you join that. I wasn't actually going to say Patreon again, but I guess I need the money, so just join. I'll give you a few minutes. You cheapskates, all of you. Seriously. No, just kidding. Love you. Actually, I don't love you. I love you on Wednesdays, but not the rest of the week. Anyway, sorry, I digress. The first filter here is linked to oscillator 1. So we're basically going to do a different filter for the saw waves, yeah? So the first one, a phasor positive, and the second one, we're going to do a kind of low pass filter here. But this is where the patch gets interesting, and this is where I kind of went a bit off the beaten path, because I made these LFO movements on the filter to some like new LFOs. So this patch has quite a lot of different LFOs doing different rhythms, yeah? And there's no obviously right or wrong way to do it. It's just, you know, just trying to get a nice groove out of the sound. So the first one here is the kind of main one. Yeah? So we've got this going to LFO, let me just check, LFO 3, right? So this is like our next sort of main LFO movement that we're going to track a few things to. And this is a saw down. But what you'll see is I've kind of I've left that fade thing up, haven't I? I haven't done my little fade like I just was banging on about. So let me go and do that quickly. Make it even smoother. Okay, so it's a low pass on this saw wave here. And I've mixed it off a bit, so you keep a little bit of the high end in, you know. Just wanted to keep a little bit of that energy in the high end still. And then filter 1, doing the first saw wave, but this one is doing it at a different speed. So here I've got it on LFO 4, which is the last sort of LFO, and this is a slower up and down triangle, you know. So that the first the filter 2, you know, more kind of rhythmical stab kind of motion, And this second one, the filter 1 here, is a bit more of an up and down, so the tone of the sound just changes like over time, a little bit slower, yeah? So, you know, we kind of got the movement from the first LFO of the pitched the pitched saw waves going the other way from each other at 1/8, yeah? Then we've got the filter on one of the saw waves going at 1/4, also a saw down. And then we got the filter on the other one doing 1/2, but it's a triangle. So we've got 3 different movements going on already. So it already makes it sort of quite complex. But this is really key, because when we start to like add in our effects and distortion now, we're going to get like even more interest out of the sound because of all the crazy movement we've got going on. So that's basically all I've got for the voicing section. So we'll jump straight over here. And the first thing I did was pepper in just a little bit of reverb in the high end, because I want to slam this through the distortion and chorus and everything, so we get this like really powerful, almost like overly distorted reverb sound. But it's really low in the mix, so it's not like going to completely mess everything up. So it's just 2 or 3%. Yeah, so you don't really hear the reverb on its own, but when it's been run through everything else, you'll start to hear it. So here you start to hear the reverb a bit more, you know. So here I've got the Jerry Seinfeld mode, and yeah, it's driven it up a little bit to 2 and a bit dB, and then we are also modulating this on one of our LFOs. So at this point, I kind of just select one of the LFOs that I particularly think is good for that effect. There's no right or wrong here again, but I've just chosen my slower one here for the distortion. So it kind of goes up and down 1/2 on this triangle. Okay, but the sound's still a bit like rough. It's still like not quite clean. It's a bit like kind of messy, but that's okay, because we're gonna like enhance it with some more effects. Specifically, the chorus is going to help us with this. But first up, the compressor here. Yeah, so still kind of a bit sort of distorted and muddy in a way, but we get a lot more brightness from the sound here, you know. And here I'm mixing in the effect of the chorus, the compressor, sorry. So basically, like I kind of usually do, whack the attack up all the way to the right, the release all the way to the left, and then you're left with a really overly saturated signal. And so you've got to turn the mix down, otherwise it's really loud. But then we modulate the mix, and we can modulate in a bit of that saturation, you know? So it's kind of like another form of distortion that we're doing. And I'm modulating that mix again here on the LFO3. So this is our 1/4 saw down. So we're putting more emphasis into that kind of 1/4 movement again here. So that kind of becomes the main, most recognizable rhythm at this point, you know? So then, this is where things start to sort of clean up a bit. Yeah? Just playing forever. I wasn't even holding down the key then. Yeah, so the chorus, we spread the sound, obviously. That's what a chorus does. But just the way the Vital one works, and this is why I love Vital, because the chorus just sounds so great. And what I found recently is if you'd have a really overly distorted sound, which is a bit messy and a bit like kind of not quite there yet, by really chorusing it, it can sometimes like almost bring it to a cleaner sound, which is amazing how it works. Okay, but now all that kind of distorted sort of messiness I had before has been spread out in such a way, but it's like it's quite warm. It's very stereo. It's very warm, but it also sounds cleaner than it did before as well. So yeah, really like that sort of effect processing chain. It's like something that I've sort of trial and errored over the years. Anyway, so next up then, a bit of a flange filter. So on the filter section, with a comb low-high flange, and here we're just going to modulate something. Yeah, the mix. So I just tweaked it to get some desirable setting. So you know it does add this like overly flanged comb filter sound, yeah, which is like kind of classic, and you just recognize it as that specific effect. But when I mix it in on an LFO, so you just have a little bit of it now and again, it kind of adds a nice tone to the sound, but doesn't like go overboard with it as well, you know. So what I've done is I've got it at about 50% or so, and then mixing it off, you know. So I always try it both ways, you know, mixing it from 0 up to 50 or 50 down to 0. Either way could work. Just kind of depends on your groove. And this is on our main 1/4 LFO here as well. Yeah, so just those extra little harmonics in the high end, especially, that come from it, come from that kind of flange comb sound, you know? Similar thing on the flanger again. So I'm kind of doing the same again, but obviously this flanger is kind of affecting different frequencies. But yeah, adds a couple of extra harmonics again in the high end. So it's getting a lot more refined by having all these little additions added into the sound. And then finally, I've got an EQ, which is being boosted again on our sort of main rhythmical LFO, the 1/4 saw down here. So we're boosting the mid-range, a little band. And you'll see that does quite a lot to the... There's quite a lot to the kind of dynamic of the sound. Yeah, targeting that nice, like kind of mid-range area, a little bit higher up, but where it just sounds good, you know. So that's basically the Desert People patch then, and yeah, as you can see, you know, it was a bit of a complicated process. That's why I wanted to walk through this one as a video on its own. But I think it's very useful still to talk about the way that I've done things here, specifically in creating a more complex rhythmical bass sound by using a number of different LFOs, you know, on different parameters as and when they see fit. It's better that you have one that's still the main one though, so your ear can kind of detect like the main rhythm. That's why at the end I sort of started to emphasize this 1/4 movement by putting more parameters like on that one, so it was more easy to follow that. But yeah, having that kind of pitch effect thing that I talked about earlier with a saw wave going on, one going up and the other one going down, and having a little sort of harmonic chord between them as well. So I think that's quite a cool little idea. So you can definitely, I think, make some interesting sounds testing that technique out. And then, yeah, again, also just quite interesting to me how you can really have quite a messy, distorted, overly, you know, saturated sound with distortion in the compressor, and then whack on the chorus after that, and then it seems to like clean things up a little bit. So that's really interesting how that kind of happens to me, you know. But that's the Desert People bass. And like I said before, you know, there's really a lot going on here, and you know, I'm really keen in bouncing stuff to audio and manipulating it and just completely changing it. But you know, here, you know, I'd have a field day with this particular sample. You know, start running it through different distortions, through Ruiner, do some ring modulation on it, maybe some comb filtering, and then like stretching the signal, the sample, moving some of the hits around to try and get a better groove. Loads you could do with that. But anyway, yeah, grab it on Patreon for €1. Come and support, don't be tight. And much love, my G's. Hope you have a amazing rest of your week, and I'll catch up with you guys as soon as I can. Peace out.